Hello humans! Today I'm going to teach you about functions. Functions are a set of actions that we associate with a title. Now, we've already been using the print and type functions, but today we're going to learn how to make our own. But before we get into that, imagine you enter your favorite fast food restaurant, and you order a number 1 off the menu. Minutes later, you have your food in front of you, and even though you didn't tell the employee how to cook a number 1, you still got one. That's because the employee is trained to know that a number 1 means that they need to get a bun out, put some meat and toppings on it, and wrap it up. Just by saying that you want a number 1, this employee knew exactly what to do in order to get you your food. To model this in Python, we define a function and we'll call it number 1. When the employee is told to make a number 1, they wash their hands, gather ingredients, cook the burger, and give it to us. If we run this code, nothing happens, even though we have all of these print statements. That's because we haven't ordered yet. We haven't called for this food to be made. We simply wrote out instructions for what to do when a number 1 is ordered. To place our order, we have to call the name of our function, number 1. Running this, we see our instructions print out. To review, we created a function called number 1. Every time we call for a number 1, a series of print statements will run. If I call for a number 1 again, then when I run this, I'll see all of these actions print out twice. A function's name is called a function identifier. It's the name that we use to distinguish one function from another. In our case, our function identifier is number 1. And just like variables, it's very common to see snake case or a camel case used when naming functions. Again, just like variables, these are totally optional, and the only rules that we must follow are functions cannot start with a number, and they cannot include special characters besides the underscore. The actions that we want our function to take are defined in the function block, sometimes called the function body. These are the indented lines of code that you see here. Functions follow the same indentation rules that if statements and loops do, so nothing new here. Lastly, we have the function call. Calling a function tells Python that we want to run the code in that function's block. Basically, this is like placing your order. If I order a number 1, a cook will go through a series of actions in order to make my food. If I order 5 number 1s, then that cook will go through the process 5 times. But why should we use functions? For starters, it allows us to easily use code that someone else has written. Think about the print function. I don't know how to code that, but I can still benefit from it because Python has allowed me to call it. Functions also prevent you from coding the same thing twice. You won't run into this issue until you start working on bigger projects, but let's say I built a game. In this game, if you run out of time or die, you get teleported back to the beginning of the level. So, when the player runs out of time, I need to teleport them back to the start, reset the clock, and reset their health. Likewise, when the player dies, I need to teleport them back to the start, reset the clock, and reset their health. Instead of coding these 3 actions twice, I could create a function called playerReset and perform these 3 actions within its function block. Now I can call that function if the player dies or runs out of time. This reduces the overall length of my code. I could go on forever about the benefits of functions, but I think you get the point. Functions are great. But what's with these parentheses that follow our function identifier and function call? These are used when we need to give a function some information, but Python requires us to have them there all the time, regardless. For example, if I say print potato, then we are giving the print function the string potato, that way it can print it out. The information we give to a function is called an argument. In our case, potato is the argument that we pass to the print function. Let's make our own function that prints out happy birthday, followed by a person's name. I'll define happy birthday and say that I want to print happy birthday plus name. So, name is going to be the variable that holds the name of the person I'm wishing a happy birthday to. This is going to seem weird at first, but I'm going to create my variable within these parentheses that follow our function identifier. I'm also not going to set it equal to anything. What I've just done is created a parameter. This is a special type of variable that functions create. They're special because we don't set a value for them within the function. Instead, we pass arguments to our parameters when we call the function. I'll call our function happy birthday and pass it the argument Sally. When our function runs, it's going to ask for a value for name, and we give it Sally, so name will be equal to Sally. Running this code, we see happy birthday Sally print out. Walking through this, we create our function happy birthday and say that we don't know who we're going to wish a happy birthday, but we'll make a placeholder for them and we'll call that name. When this function gets called, we want to print happy birthday plus whatever is stored in that placeholder. We then call happy birthday and say that our name is Sally. Name gets set equal to Sally and our print statement runs, which prints happy birthday Sally. If I call happy birthday again, but pass it Billy this time, running our code will yield both Sally and Billy being wished a happy birthday. What if we needed to know more than one piece of information? Let's say we wanted to change how we wished someone a happy birthday based on how old they are. In order to ask for their age, I place a comma after name and create another parameter. This one I'll call age. Now I'll say if age is less than 21, print happy birthday plus their name plus go have some cake. Otherwise, meaning they are 21 or older, I'll print happy birthday plus their name plus go have a beer. If I run this, I'll get a type error when we call the function. It says we are missing a required argument. This is because our function demands that we tell it both a name and an age now. If we don't supply both, we can't use this function. Not supplying a function with enough arguments is a very common error, so watch out for this one in the future. To specify an age in the function call after the name, put a comma followed by the value for age. Let's say Sally is 30 and Billy is 14. By the way, order matters here. The first value in our function call will be the value for the first parameter in our function. Since Sally is our first argument, Sally will be what our first parameter, name, gets set equal to. Our second argument is 30, which will be the value for the second parameter, age. Running this, I see that Sally is wished a happy birthday and told to grab a beer, while Billy is wished a happy birthday and told to get some cake. Today we went over functions in Python. A big thank you for watching, liking, and subscribing. Comment below with suggestions for future videos, and I will see you in the next one.